medicine, revered as the champion of sickness and the savior of well-being. With the advent of surgery, anesthesia, antibiotics, vaccines, and chemotherapy, it has come a long way from its crude beginnings. Despite all of these technological advancements, there seems to be a discrepancy with the results. Chronic diseases kill at record rates, while life expectancy descends on a downward spiral. As treatments supposedly improve, the conditions they were set out to remedy do not. What if you were to discover that the current leading cause of death in the United States of America isn't stroke, cancer, or even heart disease, but modern medicine itself? Up until the early 1900s, the medical arena was fairly level. Among the various medical ideologies, there were two particular practices in great opposition against each other. On one side, there were the homeopaths, who practiced a natural, non-toxic therapy that was designed to promote the human body's instinctive healing capabilities. In contrast, the allopaths, better known as MDs, were known to use toxic, unnatural, and often lethal treatments. The most commonly employed treatments by allopathic doctors was bloodletting. An infamous case of this treatment involved President George Washington. After coming down with a respiratory infection, Washington consulted in the best allopathic doctors of the time. The brilliant MDs first subjected him to bloodletting by leeches, draining him of half the blood in his body. He was then given a lethal dose of mercury as a disinfectant, which ultimately killed him. The Revolutionary War hero, who had evaded death numerous times on the battlefield, had now become one of the many casualties of allopathic medicine. With many people fearing the disastrous results of MD-directed therapeutics, they had opted in favor of the more natural and results-driven homeopathic approach. In their bid for power, the allopaths came together and created the American Medical Association. It wasn't until the early 1900s, however, that the AMA got any traction. With the advent of new medical treatments, they received financial and political backing by powerful financiers who saw the profit potential in surgery, radiation, and synthetic drugs. In 1907, the AMA confided in the Carnegie Foundation to finance an in-depth study of medical education in America. Abraham Flexner, an educator in the employ of John D. Rockefeller, was hired to survey the country and compile data on every medical school. After 5 years of touring the nation, Flexner returned with his data in what is now known as the Flexner Report. What followed was the complete reformation in medical education. Many medical schools were forced to shut down, specifically all those that taught homeopathic medicine, as the practice was deemed scientifically invalid by Flexner. Schools that adhered to Flexner's standards and advocated synthetic drug treatments received millions of dollars in donations from the Carnegie and Rockefeller foundations.
The Chicago headquarters of the American Medical Association is the spokesman for the majority of its 110,000 doctor members. Able publicist Dr. Morris Fishbein, who opposes any radical departure from long-established medical practice.
We insist that the practice of medicine is a doctor's problem. The doctor is the only one entitled by training, by experience, and by law to take care of the sick. Medicine is still a profession. It must never become a business or a trade, never the subservient tool.
100 years after the publication of the Flexner Report, its influence on social perception in regards to healthcare have never been more prominent. For although we have a multitude of medical treatment options, the vast majority of us choose MD-directed medicine, for no other reason than the fact that it's what everyone else does. This, coupled with cultural conditioning through MD-themed television shows, films, and commercials. Big Pharma's propaganda machine relentlessly sells the idea that synthetic drugs are the solution to everything from something as simple as a common head cold to managing complex psychological disorders. In reality, allopathic medicine is only suitable and effective for a small percent of the medical whole, that being for cases of trauma, bullet wounds, triple compound fractures, and the like. However, when it comes to chronic disease, their therapeutics consistently fail, because they are only ever managing the disease and not actually addressing the cause. Their ignorance in how the human body works is exemplified through their logic. The MD is taught that if someone is ill, it is because the body lacks the ability to heal itself. Therefore, the patient needs a drug, which alters the natural workings of the body and simply suppresses the symptom, in turn potentially producing a side effect in the process. So people go on keeping their depression, asthma, or pain in check as long as they continue to take their meds, unaware that the science behind their medication isn't as science-based as much as it is financially centered.
$1 trillion of research money, cancer rates have remained unchanged. After $25 billion of cholesterol-lowering statin drugs a year, the heart disease rates are unchanged. And yet, while we let the MDs direct our health care, arthritis increases, high blood pressure increases, fibromyalgia increases, Alzheimer's rises from obscurity to the 6th leading cause of death, and 1 out of 80 kids now are born autistic. And we give the MDs a pass.
In 2003, PhD Gary Null, along with other MDs and NDs, published a report entitled Death by Medicine. This report detailed how the modern American medical system is now the leading cause of death and injury in the country. The statistics were compiled from the New England Journal of Medicine, the Journal of the American Medical Association, and a number of other very prestigious medical journals. The report indicates that 106,000 people die of adverse drug reactions, 98,000 of medical error, 37,136 of unnecessary procedures. The most stunning statistic, however, is the total number of deaths caused by conventional medicine, surpassing both cancer and heart disease at nearly 800,000 deaths. MD-directed treatments are the #1 cause of death in the United States of America, a great loss of life, but not of profit, with a $282 billion cost annually to the victims. In spite of this fact, under Obamacare, the government is now making it mandatory for everyone to buy medical insurance for the same kind of medicine and treatment that is the leading cause of death in the country, as well as making up 60% of all personal bankruptcies, with patients paying absurd amounts of money for an effective treatment. In America, you are 64 times more likely to be killed by a doctor than you are by a gun.
When a mother chops her kids up with a cleaver because she's on serotonin.
Tell me why I'm wrong.
Why don't you want to get rid of the drugs?
AR-15s.
Because they're half your sponsors?
Stick to the subject.
America's #1 cause of unnatural death now is suicide.
Okay. Alex,
Not
let's try
automobile
again.
accident, not cancer, not...
You
Listen,
accuse me of attacking the Second Amendment of the Constitution.
I want to get people off pills that the insert says will make you commit suicide and kill people.
Alex, let's get about to the Second
I
Amendment.
want to blame the
Alex,
real culprit.
Alex.
Suicide pills.
Alex.
Mass murder.
And nearly 800,000 deaths each year due to conventional medicine. How is it that our government allows these big pharmaceutical companies to go about business as usual? The pharmaceutical company Bayer was originally part of the German corporate cartel, IG Farben. The corporation was the single largest profiteer during World War II. IG Farben was the only German company in the Third Reich to run its own concentration camp, which saw the death of 30,000 slave workers. IG Farben made the implementation of Hitler's final solution more efficient with the creation of Zyklon B gas, which claimed the lives of millions. After the war, the company was broken up. Bayer was one of its subsidiaries and went on to become a company of its own, despite its history of collusion with the Nazis.
Deshalb friedfertig sein und mutig zugleich.
More recently, Bayer was exposed for distributing HIV-contaminated Factor VIII for hemophiliac children in the United States. In light of this, the vaccine was taken off the market and resold to Europe, Asia, and Latin America to continue to turn a profit.
What, you're telling me that these people that dumped this AIDS-tainted blood in foreign countries, who killed children, have not been taken to task in the United States?
It's worse than that. The U.S. government allowed it to happen. The FDA allowed this to happen. And now the government is completely looking the other way. Thousands of innocent hemophiliacs have died from the AIDS virus. And not only they're dying, their family members are dying because they're becoming infected with the disease. This company knew absolutely that they had a problem with the product. They knew that it was infected with AIDS. They dumped it because they wanted to turn this disaster into a profit.
That's when Bayer works wonders. 2 Bayer tablets bring all the pain relief power your headache can use. Bayer is pure aspirin, not just part aspirin. Bayer works wonders.
The fact that Bayer is still conducting business is a testament to how powerful these pharmaceutical corporations really are. The U.S. healthcare industry has spent more than $5 billion on lobbying politicians in Washington, D.C. since 1998. It is fitting that allopathic medicine has adopted the caduceus as their symbol, the twin snakes, constricting their grip upon modern medicine and injecting their poison into the veins of the healthcare system. As horrible and hopeless mainstream medicine seems, you don't have to settle for it. What is labeled as alternative is actually a concept that predates modern medicine since the beginning of human existence. This is because your body itself holds the key to curing chronic disease. Among all the variations of holistic medicine, naturopathy in particular holds a principle that the human body possesses a strong and sophisticated ability to repair itself.
Everybody in the United States is under-nutrified, and here's why. My colleague Dr. Wallach from 70 to 82 is in charge of $25 million of federally funded research. His research unequivocally proved, this is not arguable, this is an academic fact, that the human body has 91 essential nutrients. There are 91 essential nutrients that must be imported into the body every day. 91. 60 of the 91 are minerals, things like calcium and phosphorus and silica, right? So, if this is how much nutrition the human body needs to be healthy every day, this is how much that's in our food. And then, the stress of life whittles away at our reserves and something breaks. And then we go to a medical doctor who gives us a prescription drug to manage the symptom. We go from bad to worse. We're going to hell in a handbasket here because we've let MDs drive the bus of medicine for the last 100 years, and that's a problem.
Sickness is at epidemic proportions, due largely in part by the sickness within our own mindset and perception. America has gone from being a leader in health to a disease-laden culture of pill-popping, doctor-dependent masochists that grovel to the whim of a failing healthcare system that is destroying all of us. This must stop. Educate yourself in nutritional supplementation and holistic treatments. Break free of preconceived notions of diet and medicine. Take the MDs off their pedestal and suspend the undeserving, godlike reverence you have bestowed upon them. For we, like the Titan Prometheus, have stolen back the fire from the gods to attain our full human potential. It is time to pull back the curtain and see the MDs as the false messiahs they really are, and to put our health back in our own hands. The medical revolution has begun. Before we can restore the Republic, we must restore ourselves. If you are hearing this transmission, you are the resistance.